So proceeding on to the next question, that is your question number 21. We need to find the equivalent resistance between the points P and Q. Okay, so that means see, in between point P and your point Q, there is a resistor, right? So that means over here the resistance would be equal to your R, right? Again, proceeding from here to this point, okay, so there in between there is a resistance, this resistance, right? So that means the resistance would be R, again this, okay. Now from this point the resistor is diverging, right? It is diverging into two parts, okay. So draw that, right? It's diverging into two parts, right? So on one part we have one resistor R, again on the second part we have another resistor which is R, right? So that means over here the resistance would be equal to your R, again over here the resistance would be equal to your R, right? Again connect this, see they are connected, right? Again connect this, okay, and finally they are connected to the point Q. So this is the net equivalent circuit of this circuit, right? Now what we need to do, we need to find the equivalent resistance between the points P and Q, right? Okay, first of all see that this resistance R and this resistance R are in parallel, right? So that means over here I can simplify it to be, over here this resistance would be R, right? Over here this is point P, this is point Q, right? Again it's going down. Over here there is a resistor R, right? Now I can say that this resistance and this resistance are in parallel, right? So that means what will be the equivalent resistance of these two resistances that are connected in parallel? So the equivalent resistance would be R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2, right? So R1 is R, R2 is also R, right? So that means this will be equal to your R square divided by R plus R, right? So that means over here the resistance would be R by 2, right? So that means over here the resistance, equivalent resistance of these two resistors would be equal to your R by 2, right? So this is the formula for equivalent resistance when two resistances are in parallel, right? Okay, so that means see that again after this I can write that this R and this R by 2 are in series, right? So if I just again draw the equivalent circuit, so over here this will be P, this will be Q. What will happen, this R and this R by 2, okay, this R and this R by 2 are in series, right? So that means the net equivalent resistance would be, over here I can write the net equivalent resistance by combining these two. So this will be R plus 3 R plus your R by 2, okay. So this will be equal to your 3R by 2, right? So that means over here the equivalent resistance would be 3R by 2 and over here the resistance is R as it is, okay. Over here this was R, so over here this is also R as it is, okay. So that means now we need to find out the equivalent resistance between point P and point Q, right? So see that 3R by 2 and R are in parallel, right? So that means what will be the equivalent resistance, R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2, right? So that means this will be equal to 3R by 2 into R divided by R1 plus R2, right? R1 is 3R by 2 plus R2 is how much, R, right? So over here 3R square divided by 2 into your 5R by 2, right? I'm just calculating over here. So over here the net equivalent resistance comes out to be 3R by 5, right? And what is the value of R given in the question? The value of R is given to be 4, right? So over here if I just put R equal to 4, so this will be 3 by 5 multiplied by 4, so this will be equal to your 12 by 5, so this will be equal to your 2.4. So the correct option to this question, that is your question number 21, is option number B, okay. I hope you got the question. Proceeding on to the next question, that is your question number 22. It says that, so there is a mass M that is attached to the end of a string, okay. So this is the string and at the end of the string there is the mass capital M. The string is passed through the hollow tube and the small m is attached at the other end, okay. So this is the hollow tube and at the end of the hollow tube there is the small m mass that is attached. The friction between the tube and the string is negligible, okay. So the mass M travels at a constant speed v in a horizontal circle, So this mass m, if you look from above, it will travel in a circle like this. Okay, so this is our mass m, and it is actually travel in this circle, okay, with the suppose a velocity v. Okay, and this is the string that is attached. So if I just draw the free body diagram, we can get the better view. Okay, so suppose the tension in the string be T. Okay, so the tension in the string is T, which is acting towards the circle. Okay, so what can I write? The summation of net force towards the center of the circle is equal to mass into acceleration of the particle towards the center of the circle. Okay, so what is the force acting towards the center of the circle? Only tension T is acting, right? So T is equal to mass into what is the acceleration of small m towards the circle? Centripetal acceleration, right? V square by capital R. So over here T would be equal to V square by capital R. So from here we get that T is equal to your mv square divided by capital R. Okay, so this completes a free body diagram of the small m part. Okay, but see over here capital M is also balanced, right? So if I just draw the free body diagram of capital M, see, this is capital M, it's balanced, right? It's not moving anywhere. So over here upward will be the same tension T that is acting through the string, right? And downward will be the capital Mg. So from here, if it's in equilibrium, I can write the summation of net force along y-axis is 0. So that means T should be equal to your Mg. Okay, so now these tensions are equal, right? Why? Because this is the same string. In the same string, the tensions are always equal provided the string has no mass. Okay, so that means capital Mg is equal to your small mv square by capital R, right? So what do we need to find? Capital M, right? So capital M is mv square divided by R times of G. So that is option number D. So I hope you got the question. I hope you got the question. So proceeding on to the next question, that is your question number 23. Planet X has a gravitational field strength of 18 Newton per kg at its surface. Okay. Planet Y has the same density as X but 3 times the radius of X. Okay. So we need to find out the gravitational field strength at the surface of Y, right? So over here it's given that planet X has a gravitational field strength of 18 Newton per kg, right? So that means 18 Newton per kg is the gravitational field strength of the planet X, right? Of the planet X. So the gravitational field strength at the surface of the planet is given by G into capital M divided by R square. Okay, so that means over here M is the mass of the planet, right? So that means for the planet X, I can write that G into m1. Suppose the mass of the planet X be m1, okay, and the radius of the planet X be r. Okay, so that means G m1 by r square. So this will be equal to your 18. Okay, and for planet Y I can write that, and for planet Y I can write that suppose the mass of the planet Y be m2. Okay, so that means G m2 divided by r2 square. Okay, so this is equal to your, so let the gravitational field strength on the surface of the planet Y be k. Okay, so that means G m2 divided by r2 square will be equal to your k. So dividing these two equations we get that G capital M divided by r square divided by G capital m2 divided by r2 square. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by k, right? So that means from here we get that m1 divided by r square into r2 square divided by m2. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by your k. So from here we can write that over here I can write that m1 divided by your m2 into your r2 square divided by your r square. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by k. Now the radius of the planet Y is 3 times of the planet X, right? So that means I can write that over here it's given that r2 is actually 3 times of r, right? And now we know that mass is actually rho into volume, right? So that means m1 is actually equal to rho into what is the volume of the planet. So the planet can be assumed to be a sphere, right? So that means the volume of the planet will be 4 by 3 pi into r cube. For the planet X, I can write that m1 is equal to rho into 4 by 3 pi r cube, right? And for the planet Y, I can write that m2 would be equal to your rho into 4 by 3 pi into r2 cube, right? And what is r2? R2 is 3 times of r, right? So that means rho into 4 by 3 pi into 3r whole cube, right? Now if I just put this into the equation, we get that. So in place of m1, I am be putting rho into 4 by 3 pi into r cube, right? And in the place of m2, I will be putting rho into 4 by 3 pi into 3r cube, right? And in the place of r2 will be equal to your 3r, right? So that means 3r square divided by r square. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by k, right? So that means if I solve from here, I'll be getting that r cube divided by 3r cube, okay, into 3r square divided by r square. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by your k, right? So that means from here, if I just solve this, so this will be equal to your 1 by 27, right? And this will be equal to your 9. So this will be equal to your 18 divided by k, right? If I just cut this, so this will be 1 by 3. So 1 by 3, so this will be equal to your 18 divided by k. So from here, basic arithmetic, k comes out to be 18 into 3. So that means the value of the gravitational field strength at the surface of the planet Y, so this will be nothing but your 54, right? So that means the correct option to your question. So that means the correct option to your question number. So that means the correct option to your question 23 is option number C. So that is the correct option to your question number 23. I hope you got the question. So proceeding on to the next question, that is your question number 24. What are the principal roles of moderator and control rod in a thermonuclear reactor, right? So that means the moderator helps slow down the neutrons produced by fission to sustain the chain reaction, right? So that means the role of the moderator is to reduce the kinetic energy of the neutrons, right? So that means in between your option number C and option number D, one will be correct, right? And what is the role of the control rod? The control rod always helps to maintain a constant rate of reaction, right? So that means the correct option to your question number 24 will be option number C. I hope you got the question. Proceeding on to the question number 25, a nuclear power station contains an alternating current generator. What is the energy transfer performed by the generator? So it's a tricky question, okay? So in this question, you have to keep in mind that a generator can be used anywhere, okay? It can be used in a nuclear power facility, and it can be used in household purposes also, okay? So that means you just have to keep in mind that for only a generator, what happens? A generator only converts kinetic energy to electrical energy, right? Rotational kinetic energy to electrical energy, okay? And it can be used anywhere, okay? So this is a trick question. The answer to this question will be equal to option number B, that is rotational kinetic energy to electrical energy. So this is the correct option for question number 20.